Project Ponderer here. We got the Grenergy tri-fuel kit we'll be putting on the Honda today. I have the EG2800i. This kit will also go on the EB2800i. Now let's go through some of the components that are in the kit. Some of the components that's in the kit. You have your supply line with a bracket and a quick disconnect. It was supposed to come with this and it didn't, so I went ahead and added the cover. You have your supply plate right here. You have another base plate. Now, I've heard that some people say there's only one that comes in the kit, so these are stuck together. When you separate them, you'll see that there's two. This is 4 spacers. This is another bracket that will space. This is another bracket that will space this out. You'll see why here in a moment. We got 2 more grounding bolts, extended bolts for the carburetor, and an extended rod that goes out for your choke. Some of the tools that you're going to need: 10 millimeter, need a 13 millimeter socket and wrench. I changed my plug out for a iridium plug. Here's the number. And the reason was is I didn't want to have to gap for gas for propane. I'll post on here what the gaps are for gas and what the gap is for propane. But if you go with the iridium, then you won't have to change the gap. You have to gap it, leave it like it's factory, put it in, you're good to go. A small screwdriver, I think that's 5 millimeter Allen wrench, some needle nose, tape measure, maybe a big screwdriver to align some of the spacers here. If you're like me, I like to know what I'm doing ahead of time. So I'm going to kind of tell you what we're going to be doing, and then we'll go through and do the process. We'll start off with our supply line and our 2 bolts that go to our ground. We're going to take these grounds off. That plate's going to mount up right here where this bolt goes to the foot. We're going to bring it all the way around to the carb. Once we get to the carb, we'll be changing these bolts out, which I've already done because I had this kit on, I tested it, and I took everything off, put most of it back to factory, and then I'll be showing you guys. And then this is actually the factory one. I have the extended one on there. You can see how much farther it comes out. And then whenever we add these plates on here, it's going to extend this out. So this plate here, this will go here. So this will be mounted here and it's going to be moved out. What looks like these washers here, they're actually spacers, a little thick. When we take this plate off the front, then these 4, that's where it's going to be to space this back out a little bit, which is another reason why we have some 2P10 glue. It's aggravating to get those spacers on there and a bolt through there, mainly because this one slides on, but this one has to go down, so it pushes your washers out of the way. So we're going to super glue these back on. Now I've got a block back here. I'm going to lean this back. It helps for a number of reasons. Once we take the carb apart, then it's going to make it easier so it doesn't fall everywhere. Got my 5 millimeter and my 10 millimeter. I'm going to take this foot off because we're going to need it off here in a moment. Since we're all in here, we might as well go ahead and take it off. Because whenever the bracket mounts down here, we're going to need that. So we'll sit it here. The reason I'm taking the grounds off now is we're getting ready to take his front panel off. And if I take them off now, then it's going to give me more room to sit the panel down without stretching these ground wall. So we just take them off now. 10 millimeter. We're going to take these off. The long ones are on the bottom, short ones on the top. You hear that rubber in there squeaking. You'll think you're not getting them out, but they're actually retained a little bit. So you can see the difference. This is the bottom, this is the top. All right, this top panel comes out. We have to lift this up a little bit. You can see it actually recesses in there a little bit, which is what makes it a little bit more aggravating. Now, turn down here. Put just a little something there. it doesn't keep so much stress on the wiring harness. Now if I can stay out of the way, pop the top off, fit it to the side. Now you can see I've already got, you see how much longer these are? I left the carburetor studs in there. That's one less thing I have to do. But the ones that come out are these here that we'll be replacing them. I'll show you in just a moment. Easy way to replace those. It's down here. Twist these hoses off. Just have two. You can't really mix those up. Take our small screwdriver. You have a little bitty hole right here that pops this rubber piece out. Push, push. It's out. Or 10 millimeter, which is hiding on us. Now be careful whenever you're taking this breather box off. There's a copper washer in between this plate and the breather. So we'll see if we can catch it. And I caught it on the table. All right, now we're going to switch from our 10 to our 13. Take this plate off. Of course, I've got it loosened up. Retain that bolt in the bracket. Now this should slide right off. I got the box off. I'm going to take this gasket right here off. This is the factory one. And then you'll notice there are new ones. If you look in there, you'll notice there's a little bitty hole right there. This is going to be the last one that goes back on. And then what we're going to be using next will be the ones that came with the kit. Now, if you didn't already have these replaced, you're going to do what you call a jam nut. You're going to put one nut on backwards and one on regular, so it's sandwiched. Screw it on. Screw that next one on. Take a wrench and socket, tighten it down, and that's going to jam it. That way you'll be able to screw this one out, screw that one out, and then put the new ones in, and that will give you extended length. Like I said, I've already done it. So what I will do, let's get this nut back, is show you the order just in case whenever you take these off that one of them falls off. I'll get a little bit closer and show you the order. Just in case whenever you were switching these out, if they fell down and you're not sure the exact order, I'll slide this out, get my hands out of the way. You've already got this shit to come off. You've already got your gasket here, big square gasket, black bracket. You have another large gasket, and then your carb goes down against it. Now let's start with the kit. Now I guess you're wondering, all right, I've got everything back on there, back to factory. How far do I put these studs in? Once you have everything in there, pushed all the way down, if you measure from the top to the tip of the bolt, I got 3 inches and 1/8. So you between 3 inches and 3 1/8 inches, you'll be perfect. Now before you start putting the plates on, you want to remember this has to be switched out. I've already switched mine out, but you slide it out, it raises up and pops out. Pop it back on. Put your little rubber gasket back on there. Make sure that this is on the inside. You don't want to start putting all this stuff on and you can't get it back in. So slide it to the right there. Now, if you remember, this is the factory one. This is the last one that goes on. And this was one that comes with the kit. You can see that little hole right there. Last one that goes on. So now we're getting ready to put the kit on. Between every single layer, we have to have a gasket. So if you'll notice, it's going to be at the top right. There's a little hole up here. Trying to stay out of the camera. Now we have our supply plate. We'll be pointing down on the outside. If you'll notice too, you have the hole up here. It matches with that one. Slide it on. Our next gasket, the second gasket that comes with the kit. Little holes at the top right. the way down. Now we have our little base plate here. If you'll notice, it's got a hole on the right side. Corresponds with that hole right there. Slide it on. Now we have our factory gasket. And slide it on. Now we'll be ready for the breather box. Now if you'll turn it up, you'll see it has a Honda. So that way, and just turn it right around. See if I can stretch around here, line these up. Gets a little snug because you got to push down right here. Don't forget, slide this up. Your choke lever, your extended one, all the way in. Everything goes down, easy peasy. Always hard putting stuff on because I'm standing to the side, not my natural spot. Before I get them completely snug down, I'm going to put my hoses back on. Go back, snap that one in the bottom. Now we're going to go back to our 10 millimeter. Just going to snug them down. Snug it down. All right, next we got a supply line. I already put the little wire loom on there to protect her. I'm gonna go under this one. If you'll notice, I got the earplug in here. I don't want to be feeding it through here and get a bunch of contaminants into my hose. I'm gonna get it about where it's going. Now this hole right here is going to go back where the foot was. Slide that right in there. If you'll notice that foot, it's got a little spot right there, bolt hole and alignment hole. There's the same thing on the bottom plate here on the generator. So make sure you get this back in that little hole so it sits flush. Now, since this is so deep in there, it's hard to get your finger. I'm going ahead and put the Allen wrench on there so I can push it up. That pushes it all the way through the hole. That way I can get in there. I'll snug it up just a little bit. Now I'm going to look under here. Make sure my hole is lined up. It is. Snug it down. Give it a little wiggle. Back 10 millimeter. Tighten it down. Need to be snug, it's not that important. Now we have the two new grounding bolts. Feed it through. Put the washer on there. You don't need to scuff the paint up here because it'll be grounded through the threads. Situated where I want it. I don't want it to tighten up and start twisting, pulling on it. So I'm going to support it a little bit. I'm going to set this bolt to the side. I don't want to put this one on until I'm getting ready to put the whole plate on. I'll put it on last. That way I'm not stretching this out. All right, I've got my supply hose and I'm ready with it. Go ahead and take the earplug out, pull it down, feed it all the way to the top. Take my Allen wrench, get ready to push. Don't want to do it with nothing really sharp. You want putting a hole in your supply line. And there we go. Now another fun part, putting this bracket back on. I've taken these bolts back off. That way I can bring it up and pre-stage the bracket. What makes it fun is you need to get this copper washer in between. Now I've got it on there. I get my fingers to work, slide it up, and you can tighten it down. That's snug. I can slide it back down. Put my bolts back on there. I'm not even going to tighten them up completely until I get this bracket exactly where it's going to go and tighten down. Got everything snugged up. We're going to go back with the original bolt that went here. That's what's going to bolt this bracket on. The bracket has an oval and then a circle. Take the original bolt, put it back where it went. Take the bolt that came with the kit and the nut. The 13mm. Have to put it on tighten. Tighten it down. 13mm wrench. Down. We'll switch back to the 10. Got that on. We'll go ahead and tighten this bracket on up. Now we're going to tighten the cord bolts down. Just getting them good and snug. Now we got these 4 spacers. We're going to go here, 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 and here. But if you could just sit it on there, I would take a little bit of grease and put it on there to make it sticky and it'd stay. But on these here, the plate has to sit down and then roll around. It always pushes these out of the way. So this is where the 2B10 glue comes in. I'm just going to go ahead and stick the bolt there. Put just a dab of 2B10 glue on there. Activator, dry it, then they won't move. Screwdriver just fits nice and tight. Little drop. Some activator. And they're lined up. Washer's glued on there. Come up here, keeping our ground out of the way. Put the bottom in and then twist the top. Lay it right in there. Looks like everything's lined up. Let's start putting the bolts. The bottom ones, or the long ones, they've got a rubber grommet, so you really gotta push them on down in there. Back to the 10mm. The very first time I done this, when I used tape, and it's looking like this is a lot easier. I don't have to worry about moving around. I don't have to poke a hole in the tape to get through. I'll finish these up and then we'll go to the next one. Everything's all tight. Pull it down. And go to this ground. We have our ground that's here. We have our washer. Put it on. Then put the washer. It'll slide off my finger. I want to try to line it up in there and get it where it's not got a kink in it. It's not going to have stress on it. You want the vibration through running and stuff to get a kink and work it over the years. Support that end. I don't, when I'm tightening it up, I don't want it to start trying to pull the wire out. Next, we have the breather box. Got these little curls on the bottom. They fit right in there. Snap in the top. Ready to put some fuel to it. Now we have the regulators. Notice I'm keeping these plugged off. I don't want no contaminants getting in there. This is just like putting it on your grill. Tighten it down. Your guard, your cover that you had on here. Take it, wheel it around. Sit it on the bottom to keep this up. You'll be able to see on there it says this side up. Tighten it down. This will be your regulator for your pressure coming in. Now I believe they call this a demand. And this is what shuts off in case your generator, something happens to it, it shuts off, your fuel is still on, then this will shut the fuel off because there's no longer a vacuum coming from the generator. Bring it up, get the cover off, Take the cover off. This black piece slides back. Should slide forward. Nice and smooth. Now I've already ran the generator dry for fuel. I had the fuel shut off and I let it run until it quit. So now what we're going to do, we're going to open up our propane. All the way up. Right here is your purge. Propane tank is open. We're connected. The fuel is off, or the gas is off. It's coming in. It's been rain dry. There's nothing in the bowl. So now we're going to hit this 1, 2, 3 long presses. Here you don't need a choke with propane. It's completely off. Let's flip that on. Let's see. That way I don't have any propane left running through here. Now what I was doing with the kilowatt meter there is I was checking my volts and my hertz. You want to make sure that you're within range, especially your 60 hertz. Now the on-demand regulator has adjustments here, and then one here on the back. But from the manufacturer, they say they have it set up for around 5,000 feet of elevation. If you're going to be way above that, you may have to adjust it, but it is really small increments. I would get with Grenergy, contact them, and let them tell you exactly what the measurements are supposed to be. All right, that's it. Project Ponderer, a Honda tri-fuel generator. Now it is set up, I can go back and forth between gas. I can just shut off the propane, let it run out, open up my gas, run it on gas as long as I want to. Then if I want to go back to propane, I shut the gas off while it's running, let it run all the gas through, open up my valve on the propane, and fire it up. Just remember, you don't use a choke on propane. And if you don't want to change your gap every time you switch back and forth, switch to the Iridium BPR6EIX 6637. That way you're good for both of them. You don't have to gap it at all from factory, pop it in, and you're good to go. If you have any more questions, just let me know. If you want to know what tape measure I was using, this is a Lefty righty. I'll put a link in the description. These things are awesome. You can read from this way, everything's there. Turn it over, and everything's there. No more looking back over the top. I'll put a picture in there. These things are awesome. My favorite tape measure. Sharpen your pencil, write your little notes on there, and then erase them off. Very handy. Like I said, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks.